I've been calling my sister by her full given name when she dead names my niece. My brother's kid, 22, female, came out as trans on her 21st birthday about a year ago and changed her name from Lance to Lacey. Fake names. Okay, gotcha. Most of our family accepted it, and the ones who didn't weren't close anyway, except our sister, Eva, 45. We're a Native American family with a lot of creative names, and my sister's birth name is something close to Evangeline. But she decided to go by Ava, or Eva, or Eva, after a white kid said her name was Rezzed Out? Rezzed Out? Low-class, stereotypical name from an Indian reservation. Oh, okay. She's insisted on Eva, whichever one, for about 35 years, and we all obliged. Now, she's regularly been calling my trans niece by her dead name, Lance, since she came out as trans, so I started calling her Evangeline, which she hates. The whole family caught on, and have only been referring to her as Evangeline for about a year now, and she's furious every time she comes to family events. Recently, she's been calling me by my full first name to bother me. My name is a... ooh, God, what's that word? Portmanteau hyphenation? I'm not sure, of my mom's 4 sisters' name. Something like Alexiana Dorothique, but wackier. People have always called me AD or Lexi, or my brother called me Dodo? Is it Dodo? Yeah, since he was a kid. I love my full first names, but it's cumbersome to use an 8-syllable name regularly. Well, my full name caught on with family and friends. Just to spite Evangeline, we have all reverted back to our full names instead of nicknames. Our dad's no longer Frank, he's Franklin. Our mom is no longer Roz, she's Rosalind. Brother is no longer Nate, he's Nathaniel. Syl is no longer Kate, she is Catherine. I said Syl instead of sister-in-law. I did do that on purpose, I promise. All fake names. This has truly driven Evangeline away, which was the plan in the first place. Lacey makes for better company, so good riddance to one crappy sister. I think you might be the first person ever who has a weird hyphenate first name like myself, which is Christopher Robin. That is sort of it's not actually hyphenated, but it is 2 first names as a first name. You know, that's kind of neat. My daughter just turned 5, and we call her Evie. I know an Evie. When she doesn't listen, her name is Evangeline, and she kinda hates it. But, I mean, my mother did the same with my obscure native name, and it still works. You know, the same thing with the Evie I know. She hates being called Evangeline. Oh, it's weird. It's sort of a pattern with that name. Why do people have no issues with nicknames, but they have issues when a trans kid changes their name? My grandma's name was Elizabeth, but everyone called her Babe. That's what she liked to be called, and no one had a problem with that. I know many people who go by their middle names for different reasons. That's fine and dandy. OP, your family is awesome, except for Evangeline. It's nice when the full name weapon is used for good. I only got it when I was in trouble. I locked my Aldi cart to another person's cart inside the store. I was at Aldi or whatever, and there was a woman shopping by herself with a rather full cart. My first encounter, she had her cart sideways, blocking most of the aisle, standing against one side and looking at the food on the other side. I make my way past her, and of course, as soon as I'm close, she steps forward to get to the food she was looking at. I politely do the oops, excuse me, and wait to pass, not even bothered yet. Whatever, it happens all the time. Second time, I'm pushing my cart along the outside, and she's about to pull in front of me. I can see it. She half goes without looking, but hesitates, and I stop because I think she's about to, but then she doesn't, so I start to go. Then she hesitates again and pushes right in front of me. I roll my eyes. The third time I see her, she parks it totally sideways and blocks the whole aisle between those island freezers and the wall. She leaves it unattended and goes to get something else. So in the middle of grumbling and reaching to move it, I instead put her latch into my cart, leave my 3 to 4 items, take my quarter back, and scurry off to get a new cart. I don't think she had another quarter, as I saw her try to push both awkwardly at the same time in different directions to checkout. Oh, that is amazing. I was about to ask, what do you mean quarter? And then I remembered. Don't worry. If you had to put her cart into yours and then locked it, her groceries would have been locked in the cart. Or if you had done that. Ooh, that would have been pretty good. When people are blocking aisles when we go food shopping, my mom yells beep beep or honk. It's embarrassing, but hilarious at the same time. Yes, folks, just like putting your cart away, not blocking all the space around you in the already tiny constrained aisles is paramount to not being a dick. Wow, I might actually have to do this. I usually just grab their cart and move it to the side. Sometimes they'll say, hey, that's my cart, and I just say, I know, I'm just moving it out of the way so other people can shop, which is usually enough to see the look of realization in their face. Sometimes, though, they still don't get it, and I think that's when I have to deploy this tactic. Thank you for the inspiration to do what needs to be done. As someone who works at Aldi, seeing this would have made my day. Customers like that lady are so disrespectful and ruin everyone's shopping or working experience. Some people are just way, way, way too bored, all right? We need to put them on an island somewhere where they can be mean to each other. How about that? Okay, then block my driveway. I live next to a school, and I've had parents back up into my driveway to wait for their children. If I'm not going anywhere, I don't mind, no harm, no foul. One day I came home to find a woman in my driveway. I got out of my car and I asked her to please pull out for a second so I could pull in, and you can get back where you were. She said, I'll only be a few minutes. I said, ma'am, I live here and I'd like to get into my garage. Because it's a narrow street and parents are now parked on both sides, the street access is now narrow and only one car can get by at a time. I told her that I cannot wait here a few minutes because I'm blocking traffic. We'll all be moving in a bit. I said, okay, no, you won't be. I then parked perpendicular to her vehicle, blocking my own driveway and her vehicle. As I walked by, I told her I really have to use the bathroom and have stomach cramps. You're welcome to call the police if you'd like. I'll be out in a bit. The look on her face after realizing what just happened was priceless. A few minutes later, I could hear honking. A few more minutes later, I hear honking and my doorbell ringing. Only because I saw it was a child ringing my doorbell, I answered, I'll be out in a few minutes. I'm washing my hands. I could hear the little boy screaming to his mother, I assume. He says he's washing his hands. By the time I came out a few more minutes later, all the vehicles and students were gone. I very slowly walked past her car, avoiding eye contact, and got into my car. I adjusted the mirror, moved the car seat, looked forward, then back, slowly. Started the car, and moved it forward slowly. All I heard was the tires screeching and the car horn honking as she left. Her windows were rolled up, so I can only assume the little boy got an earful of nice words as she was leaving. My neighbors were wondering what was going on with all the honking. When I explained it, they said, oh yeah, that's kind of what we figured. That's kind of what we figured? God damn. This is some of that give an inch, take a mile mentality. The moment you're like, I don't mind. I'm not using it. I don't need to go anywhere. Not a big deal. They can sit there for now and wait for their kid. Who cares? Not a big deal. The moment you start going, I don't mind, is the moment other people go, I'm entitled to it. It's for me. I deserve it. Fuck you. I need it. Nice role model for a kid, piece of shit. Once you were done washing your hands, you should have stopped in front of her car, made eye contact, clenched your stomach with your hands, shaken your head, and ran back inside. My friend bought some of those obnoxious neon green no parking vehicle will be towed stickers, and believe me, after sticking a few of those on the driver's side window, people stopped blocking her driveway. They were the size of a piece of notebook paper, so not something small that just wasn't noticed. And you gotta be real careful about the stickers, because, I don't know, some people will just try to kill you. But god damn it, I wouldn't have the patience for any of this stuff. Landlord decided to kick out a tenant with a beautiful garden that the person had planted himself, and use the garden to increase rent? Well, get fucked, bitch. Found this subreddit through The Click. Thanks, dude. Oh my god, The Click! He's one of our fellow Reddit buddies. This isn't mine. I found it on Twitter and decided to share it here because it fits quite well. Friend is being kicked out of his flat that has a garden because the landlord wants to charge much, much higher rent. Friend has carefully removed every single thing he planted. Landlord, it's worth more with all the frickin' plants. How am I meant to get more rent now? The best bit is, he wanted, or waited, until the landlord had taken loads of photos of the garden for the advert. Had people around to view and had been told contracts had been signed by the new tenants who were expecting a beautiful garden, as opposed to the bare patch of dirt that now exists. Muting this because lots of you seem to really love landlords, and some of you think I should chastise my actual friend who is being kicked out of his home, specifically so the landlord can make more cash. Cracked. I will never understand why so many people want to gargle the balls of every landlord in the land. All right? Those people can't even afford to be lords, and they get to hold housing over your head and increase the prices forever until you're either homeless or dead. It's fantastic that we just love landlords so much. Not here at EmKay, that's for sure. Stinky, poopy landlords. Awesome. A friend did something similar, and the landlord tried and failed to sue them for damage. friend shows before and after photos of when they moved in, and copy of the contract that said anything installed by the tenant must be removed upon leaving. Judge laughed and threw the case out within 3 minutes. I read on Reddit once about a guy who got petty revenge against the landlord by spreading bamboo seeds throughout the whole front and backyard. That's several levels beyond petty. I feel like that one you probably shouldn't attempt, and the only reason is they'll know it was you. All this random bamboo just started growing all over my property. I wonder who it could have been. A similar thing happened to me. We rented a house with a backyard and a blank space where a garden bed was growing some weeds. We asked if we could plant flowers, and we're told we could. Fast forward a year later, and we're moving out, conducting the final inspection, and the landlord says he never gave us permission, that it would cost up to $600 to remove all the things we had planted. I told him if that was the only issue, then I would remove them myself immediately. I grabbed about 5 double handfuls of plants and yanked them out of the dirt before he asked me to stop and leave the rest alone. Yeah, stick it to him. I helped my sister dig out her vegetable plants that her soon-to-be ex-roommates were clearly eyeballing. Screw those jerks. She was the one that maintained the garden, so I could totally see this happening. Dressed overly casual at a designer store so that the rude sales rep wouldn't get commission. Oh boy, what does that even mean? I don't typically buy a lot of designer clothing, but when I do go shopping, I dress pretty casually. Last week, I was strolling through the mall, and there was a designer backpack on display that caught my attention. I went inside the store, wearing a hoodie and ripped jeans, and went to inquire about the price of the backpack. I waited around for 10 minutes for someone to help me until I decided to go up to one of the sales representatives myself. She told me to wait because she was helping another customer, so I sat down, and I waited. I saw her in the corner of the store, just standing, not doing anything. I decided to wait another 5 minutes for her to come by, but she never did. I walked back up to her and told her I wanted to inquire about the backpack. I asked her if she could bring one from the back room so I could take a closer look at it. She told me that she wouldn't be able to do that unless I was planning on purchasing the item. She seemed annoyed with my request. Before I could say anything else, she quickly walked away to help another customer. I'm quite young, 25, and I could tell she didn't think I was serious about purchasing it and didn't want to waste her time. I would have actually purchased it, then and there, if she hadn't been so dismissive. A few days later, I went back into the store. This time I made sure to dress even more casually than before. I walked in with a pair of sweatpants, running shoes, a tank top, and a zip-up. And the same lady was working that day and turned her back to me as soon as I walked in. I went up to one of the other sales representatives. This guy was younger, smiling, and seemed eager to help, and I told him I wanted to purchase the backpack, and he gladly went inside and got it for me. He even asked if I'd like to take a look at it before buying. I thanked him, and he checked me out. The store manager was also by the cashier, and I let him know that I came in last week, and that lady wouldn't let me see the product before purchasing it. He was so upset to hear this and told me this wasn't the first time he had received a complaint about her. The item was a few grand, and all the commission went towards the junior. He was so kind and grateful. She avoided eye contact with me after she got told off by her manager, and I smiled at her as I walked out of the store. Don't judge a book by its cover. She seems like the type of person that would just hate homeless people. Maybe that's what she assumed. You have slightly more casual clothing than normal, so, must be homeless trying to steal, right? I used to work in a music shop in the mid-90s. My department was electronic music, so I was selling keyboards, mixers, software, that sort of thing. One day, this older dude comes in, long, straggly hair, singlet, beat-up cargo shorts that looked like they'd seen much better days, and flip-flops. The guitar sales team were all f***ing around in the amp room and were uninterested in helping this guy. Now, I don't play guitar, but I knew a fair bit about them, and I don't mind to chat, so I got to talking with him. I helped him choose several different guitars to try based on his style, including a $7,000 vintage Fender. I wasn't expecting anything to come out of it, but after a few minutes of playing, he decided he liked the Fender, and we rang up the deal, which he had zero trouble paying for. I got my fat commission, but also got reprimanded for selling outside of my department. How dare you make my store a nice, juicy markup? Well, actually, I don't know how juicy the markup would be. I feel like places like Guitar Center or whatever probably aren't making too much off the top, especially if it's a $7,000 Fender. A vintage one at that. Big mistake. Huge! I think it's somewhat common knowledge that if you're in a very expensive place, the more unkempt you look, the richer you probably actually are, because you've lost all the will to give a and need to impress others. Husband gives epic petty gift after ongoing boomer neighbor issues. We moved into a rental house in a neighborhood with our 3 kids, and the day after we moved in, our boomer neighbor, let's call him Gene, knocked on our door after my husband left for work. When I answered the door, he skipped all pleasantries and introductions to gruffly inform me that the light switch in my family room closet needed to be turned off immediately. What? And it was my duty to ensure that it was kept off. Obviously puzzled by this demand, I asked what the switch was for. Gene said that the switch was for an exterior patio light that would shine into his bedroom at night and keep him awake, which was not acceptable. I figured the kids had turned it on while exploring a new house, so I assured him I'd turn it off. Without another word, he turned on his heel and went home. Unfortunately, my rude Gene encounters persisted during the 18 months we lived there. He would wait for my husband to leave, then come and complain and gripe at me about something we had done wrong. Our dogs would loudly sniff at the fence if he was outside. Our sprinkler was spraying too high. Our trash can was too close to his, yada yada yada. Our other neighbors adored us and our kids, so I really don't think we were the problem. I finally stopped answering the door, so he started leaving notes and even went as far as to find me on Facebook and send a message there. Just the worst. Husband tried to talk to him and tell him to leave me alone, but he'd deny any wrongdoing. Reasoning with him was pointless, so we made the decision to just ignore him the best we could. We were finally moving to a new place out of town, and my husband went back to do the final walkthrough of the house. When he left for the final time, he called me to let me know that he had a gift for me. The last thing he did before locking the door and leaving that house for good, turning on the patio light switch in the closet, knowing full well the landlord wouldn't be there for 4 more days. Best gift ever. I still laugh when I think about it. That is my favorite form of petty revenge. It doesn't harm anybody in any way, shape, or form. Not that anything we have seen today has, mind you. That's not what I mean. This right here is just the best shit. You're not gonna forget that first time. What a whiny little bitch. Just across the board. Also, what an absolute pussy. Just in general, for waiting for your husband to leave so that he can go after the weak little wife and children. Which, not saying that that's what she is, but you guys know what I mean by that, right? That's how he sees the wife. The wife is weak and dumb. I could go and yell at her and she'll be a pushover. Okay, buddy. What a gross guy, waiting for the male to leave so he can intimidate a woman. I'm glad you guys moved. Exactly. This guy knows what I'm talking about. I personally think if I knew it was safe, I would have bridged the wires, took out the switch, and patched the wall, as if the switch never existed. Oh man, as long as that neighborhood ain't no HOA or something, that would have worked. You're a better person than me. After the second time he came over, I'd tell him that the light was going to be turned back on if he continued antagonizing me. There is a certain point when you have to stop being nice. If someone is clearly showing you contempt and disrespect time and time again, you needn't put up with it. Boyfriend, 22, couldn't stop liking half-naked pictures of other women, so I, 21, posted one of myself. Oh boy, all right, let's see how totally not toxic this relationship is. All right, my 22-year-old boyfriend has started following a lot of Instagram women. Not regular ones, I don't mind those, but particularly the ones in lingerie and with their ass out. Gotcha. Even was watching their OnlyFans. All right, that one, yeah, okay, dude's a creepy dick. That situation's ridiculous. Like, liking all the porn accounts and then watching their OnlyFans, so your boyfriend was financially supporting other naked women? That doesn't seem very right to me. But then again, y'all can do whatever the f*** you want if you're all consenting adults. It's just what I'm saying. You know, let me keep reading before I rant about other shit. I, 21, told him it made me uncomfortable and to stop, but his response was, "It's just Instagram. You're doing too much. It's not that serious," and he kept doing it. Well, I posted some pictures of me in a G-string bikini, ass out and all. He saw it and started freaking out. Of course the little baby bitch did. Slamming doors and yelling. He was like, "You don't respect yourself. Girls who do that are hoes. That's embarrassing. I don't want my girlfriend doing that, bro. That's weird." And he's mad, like really mad. He told me to take it down, and I said, "No, isn't this what you like to see?" And his response again was, "You're in a relationship. Why would you do that?" And I said, "I'm only posting what you like." After I said that, he started ignoring me. It's been hours, and honestly, I don't care. I don't feel bad at all. For months, I was uncomfortable and asked him to stop, and he couldn't. So, yeah, now he's a victim of a crime he participates in. Exactly. If you're going to demand that you have the right to look at nudes of other women and pay for those nudes or whatever porn they're making, anything like that, which there's nothing wrong, of course, with being a sex worker at all, by the way. Let's make that really clear. I think it's crazy that this dude does this, disrespects them, like, the next day, like, "Oh, people who do that are hoes." I'm like, man, what the f*** are you talking about, dog? You don't know what you're doing at all, do you? Why don't these people just tell the goddamn truth? But anyway, He demands that you stop it? No, man. No. He can't have his cake and eat it too while calling it a hoe. That's not how this works. Normally, I would say that's childish, but yeah, no, you gave him a different perspective. I'd dig it even further and say, now other men like him can follow you and like your pics. Aha! For your next act of petty revenge, dump him. Yeah, I wouldn't stay in that relationship too long. I mean, maybe the guy will come around and grow the hell up, but he doesn't sound like the type of dude to do it. 2 of your other posts. My boyfriend wants a threesome, but I feel he just wants to fuck other women. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend he's wrong for wanting to sleep with other women? Woman, please, get the hell out of this relationship already. Edit. To those butthurt that this story might be fake, who gives a shit? You know, you could discuss a movie and the character's decision even though it's fiction. It's fun. We're all here to waste time and be entertained. Which you just was, anyway, which you just were if you came here, read the post, and bothered to read an answer to this comment in the first place. This is Reddit. Nobody owes you the truth. You know, I've never seen anybody put it like that, Brandolini, but I do kind of agree. There's a certain point when it's like, all right, I need to get rid of my sense of disbelief. Just for a minute, the internet is full of entertainment. Well, sure, it's a utility, it's a tool, we need it and require it for all aspects of our lives in more ways than one. But, like 99% of our entertainment comes from the internet now. And it's okay if it's fake. It's okay if it's fiction. All right? Just chill out. It's all right. That's the definition of double standard in a nutshell. It's all fine and dandy in his mind when it's someone across the screen, but as soon as it's his girl, it's a moral outrage. Every single one of those girls is someone's daughter, sister, or girlfriend. Petty? Inappropriate? What you did? Certainly. Deserved? 100 times yes. Yeah. Look, I understand the sentiment of every single one of those girls is someone's daughter, sister, or girlfriend, but you need to remember that's not who they are. A woman is not someone's daughter at their core. They're a person. I just want to make sure we don't really continue to go down the road of a woman is only important to think about as a person when you're reminded of their father, or their brother, or their boyfriend, or someone that, while familially attached by blood and whatnot, that's not who they are, okay? You're allowed to make your own decisions as an adult, and if you choose sex, work, or otherwise, okay! Who gives a shit? They are people who get to live lives. So I don't want to, reduce women to daughter, sister, girlfriend. I know where your heart's at. I understand. I just personally don't really like it. It feels reductive. Reducing a woman to her relationships rather than who she actually is. Person next to me on a plane kept violating my personal space. Ooh, see, that's when you eat them alive. You bring a fork with you. Oh, wait, you can't do that on a plane. I was flying in the window seat because I like looking out the window. The woman sitting next to me reached in front of me multiple times to close the window shade. Nope. You don't get to do that. You can ask, and I will 99% of the time go, okay. She just reached directly in front of me to close the shade. I would immediately reopen it, and a few minutes later, she would reach in front of me again to close it. It was a noon domestic short-haul flight, so no reason to need darkness in the middle of the day, and absolutely no excuse for violating my personal space multiple times without asking me, or acknowledging me, or treating me like a human in any way. So, I pulled out my book, turned on the reading light, despite there being ample natural light from the open window for me to read. I then positioned my hands in such a way that my watch would reflect the reading light directly into her eyes. Good God, you mastermind freak. I read like that for an hour, jiggling my hand the entire time, so I would shine the light back and forth across her eyes. It'd be super distracting and annoying. Once we landed, she took her headphones off. I turned to her and said, next time you fly, book a window seat if you want to control the window, or at least treat me like a human and ask me before you violate my personal space. What you did is unbelievably rude. She looked so offended, and naturally she walked 2 miles per hour. Being a city walker, I easily got in front of her. Then once we were on the moving walkway, I stopped immediately in front of her. Man, you're like road rage in human form. Or not in human form. Road rage outside of the car. Road rage on the walkways, man. Jesus Christ, you just kept going. A little more petty than normal, but I admire the hustle of just f***ing with this person. I'm with you. As far as I'm concerned, whoever has the window seat controls the shade. I do have to resign myself to that fact for sure, 100%. It sucks because I like to be able to see out of the plane, not because it's cool, but because it helps me a lot with my flight anxiety and fear, for sure. So I really, really hate it when that thing closes. But hey, if I'm sitting in the aisle seat so I can piss for the 400th time without people getting out of the way for me, that's the cross I must bear, all right? It's not mine to control. One of my buddies claims to have farted in the face of a person next to him on a flight while squeezing past her as she refused to get up so that he could go to the restroom. Yeah, if you refuse to get up so that I can pee, well, guess what? We're gonna be getting real close because I'm gonna climb over you. You will not stop me. I'm gonna pee, all right? And, well, I'm getting out there. The watch trick was a stroke of genius. Window seat gets window and an armrest. Center seat gets 2 armrests. Aisle seat gets 1 armrest and some extra legroom. We're not animals. We live in a society. Yeah, we've all seen Jim Jeffries. That's Jim Jeffries, right? Think I don't speak English? Okay, I don't. Technically belongs to my husband, but I was there to witness the fun. Backstory. My husband, 36, is of Chinese descent but was born in America. He speaks perfect English without an accent. Okay, an American accent. And is basically just a regular guy, but does deal with his fair share of racism, both small and large, but he deals with it with grace. Last weekend, we were at a new restaurant that had opened up, and after we sat down, the waitress brought us our menus. She then said, in a condescending way Americans speak to non-English speakers, "Do you need anything?" As if that makes it easier for someone who doesn't speak English to understand. I love how stupid people look when they do that. They don't speak the language. Yelling it and saying it slower doesn't magically make it understandable, idiot. My husband initially looked pissed, but then something sparkled in his eye. He turns to the waitress and very loudly says, in a very exaggerated Asian accent, "Help with menu!" He then held the waitress captive for about 10 minutes, having her explain the whole menu to him dish by dish, occasionally having her repeat things. Then my husband looked at me and said again very loudly, "No good, we go!" So we grabbed our stuff and walked out of the restaurant and went somewhere else. You know, look, if you play racist games, you win racist prizes. It would have been even better if he had turned to you and said, in his unaccented English, "Dear, I don't think there's anything on the menu that sounds particularly appealing. Perhaps we should try a different place." I don't know why I went mega white guy with that voice. It just felt right in the moment. My cousin told me a story from middle school where she assumed that a new student who was Asian didn't speak English. So she went up to them and said loud and slow, "Welcome to our country." And the poor girl said, "I'm from insert name of nearish city." I've heard it a few times over the years, but even way back then, I remember thinking, yikes. And the fact that she still tells it like it's a funny story, oof. Yeah, she's only thinking about it from her point of view. You wouldn't possibly think about it from the point of view of someone who might be incredibly offended and feel bad about themselves because your friend's a dipshit. I know you know she is. I'm just, whatever. It's really weird. He's just as bad as my ex-husband. I grew up in Asia, so my English has an odd British twang to it. It sounds a little off to most Americans. Once when we were both grocery shopping, some old biddy decided to start lecturing me on speaking English properly. My ex, who is apple pie white American that just stayed in Hawaii for 2 years, turned towards her and in the most horrendous Hawaiian pidgin accent apologized to her and then explained that I was helping him with his English. The look of shock on that Karen's face is one I will never forget. Very weird. My date blew me off for not buying him sushi. I got $400 who now? Hi. So there was this event at a bar I was planning to go to this weekend, and I asked this guy to be my date that night, as I don't like being alone in crowded, unfamiliar places. At first, he seemed quite enthusiastic as he messaged me a lot about it. One time, he casually mentioned how expensive going out in New York City has become, which is true, by the way. I went, "No worry, I'll pick up the tab and we'll have a good time." I genuinely did not think of it as a big deal since I am not the most frugal person in the world. So the night before our supposed date, I wanted to confirm everything and messaged him on that. Well, we can also grab something to eat beforehand. What kind of food do you like? He got back to me saying that there's a sushi place in Queens he really wants to try. Initially, I was struck, this being bizarre, as the bar is in the West Village, and if we do what he wants, wow, I can't read today, I'd have to forfeit most of the night to be in Queens. And the only reason why we're even hanging out is because I wanted to go to this bar. So I made a logical response, suggested we could get something else near the bar. He became unresponsive. When I pressed for a confirmation for him for this itinerary, he said he needed to think about it. "You know, at this point I realize he's really taken me or thinking of me, as a meal ticket. He's trying to get me capitulated to his demands, as it's already Friday night and I'm running out of options to people still free and available, which, as a matter of fact, I was. He really derailed my plan, and I pulled out my phone and booked myself a $400 17-course omakase? I've never seen that. I genuinely haven't seen the word. I'm not familiar. At a very nice place in the village. I had a blast with the insanely delicious meal, and I posted the picture of the sushi to my Instagram stories. He messaged me later claiming he's sorry and he got busy with family, blah, 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 blah. I blocked him immediately. What a little baby he is. What a little... That was him. Yeah, that was him. Yes, I make that sound all the time because it freaks people out. Wow, so the dude got asked out, didn't have to pay, and still blew it. That's just sad. That's what I was thinking, heathen Jesus. What the hell, man? That dude won the blue ribbon. He was handed a platinum trophy with a bunch of Twix inside, an Oscar full of caramel and liquid gold. And what did he do? Went, no, never mind. I wanted sushi. Man, you're a goddamn nerd, okay? It was a power play that backfired. New York City is literally full of sushi places. There was no reason for him to suggest somewhere that far out of the way. The only reason for him to ask for something that ridiculous and then sulk about it is that he wanted to demonstrate it's my way or the highway. Well played all around. Damn. Pal of mine that I invite at least 3 times a year to places, I noticed he never has invited me anywhere in a decade. So I stopped inviting him, and I'm at 2 years of radio silence with him this far. Not much of a friendship. Yeah, I'll say, man, some of these people are just losers!